Sometimes the hardest thing to talk about is loneliness. Why is that? Because you just can't put words to the feeling that you're actually having. Sometimes it feels like I really want to talk to somebody, but I know that they don't want to hear my problems, or maybe they're too busy to talk to me. So I'll just wait till a different time. And then we let it go. We forget about it. And that feeling that we're having that we don't exactly know how to communicate is just sitting there running around like the hamster on the wheel. And after a certain amount of time, it's like, I don't think that I can talk to anybody about this. And I'm just going to go be by myself. Have you ever felt that way before? I know that I have. And that's why I created this exercise. And I hope that if you take the time to sit with me and sit with yourself to do this, that it will support you in actually being able to communicate and understand what is going on. I call this exercise bringing my loneliness to life. I know that sounds kind of scary, but I'll be here with you and we'll walk through it at whatever pace you need to. You can hit the pause button at any time. You can rewind because this is recorded, and you can work at the pace that works for you. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to communicate and understand what it is you're feeling so that you can easily process what you're feeling and you can create the emotional exchange that you want. So what are we going to do in this exercise? We're going to focus on two emotions or two feelings, and those feelings are loneliness and connection. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and I just want you to think about what shows up for you as I ask those questions. Right? There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no good, there is no bad. Whatever comes up is supposed to come up for you. And hey, sometimes nothing might come up, and that's okay too. So if you want to join me in this, I need you to do a couple of things. So I want you to go grab a sheet of paper. I want you to grab some crayons. I want you to grab markers, whatever you can, because I want you to be able to express what you're feeling as we walk through this together. Okay? So you can go ahead and pause, go grab the equipment, the material that you need, and then I'll be here waiting for you when you get back. All right. Now that you're back and you got everything you need, all I want you to do is get into a comfortable space for yourself. Whatever that looks like. If that looks like sitting in a chair, if that looks like laying on the ground, I don't care what it looks like for you, because it's exactly what you need it to be. There's no specific way that you need to be to go through this exercise, just whatever is comfortable for you. All right, and I want you to take in a couple breaths real quick, and they don't have to be deep. They can just be regular breaths. And as you take those breaths, I want to get us started with bringing the feeling of loneliness to life, okay? So as you breathe, I want you to go ahead, and if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and just get into that experience of what it feels like to experience loneliness for you. Remember, there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no good, there is no bad. Just continue to breathe. And I will go ahead and I will get us started with the questions. And remember, just take it as it comes up. Let it be. and then we'll see what's created at the end of this process. All right, so when you experience loneliness, what is it that you see? Now, this could be certain people that you see. It could be a place that you see. It could be many things that you see. But when you are in this experience, what is it that you see? Now that we know what you see, I want you to think about when you're in this experience of loneliness, what is it that you hear? Now, this could be nothing. This could be your voice. It could be other people talking. It could be a specific environment that you're in. But what is it that you hear? Now, we know what you see. We know what you hear. Now, I want you to imagine you're walking up to this table, and on this table, you see a box of crayons. You pick up the box. You notice there's only one crayon in this box. You open up the box. You pull out the crayon, and this crayon says lonely. What color is this crayon that you just pulled out of the box? All right, now we know a color. We know things you hear. We know things that you see. Now I want you to get into this experience that you're having, and I want you to imagine that you see this object, and this object is something that represents loneliness. It's an inanimate object, so it's a non-living object. What is the object that you're seeing right now? Now, it could be things like a chair. It could be things like a rock. I don't know what it is for you, but remember, whatever you see is what you're supposed to see. It's exactly what your experience is calling for you to recognize in this moment. Now, we know you have an object, you have a color, you're saying things, you're hearing things, you're seeing things. Now, I want you to think about, in this experience, what are the things that you're saying to yourself? What are the ways that you're saying it? So what is the tone of your voice that you're using? Is it, are you yelling? Are you saying it very softly? How are you saying the things that you're hearing yourself say? Now that we know what you're saying, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, you know a color, you know an object. This is probably the most important part of this process that we're going to go through right now. You have all this information about your experience. And you know what? Now we get to name your experience. So I want you to think about your experience of loneliness, and I want you to give it a name. Now, this could be something like sad dog. This could be like lonely Larry. This could be like Dave. I don't know. Whatever is coming up for you is what's supposed to come up for you. And then we'll talk about why that's so important as we get through the next phase of the exercise. All right, I'm sure you had a lot that came up as you went through this exercise. And remember, whatever came up is for you to know, and it's exactly what you needed to see in the moment. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to make sure, take all the things that I told you to get, the pen, the paper, the crayons, and I want you to draw, write, however you want to express yourself. I want you to put on paper what you just experienced as I asked you those questions. And I want it to be all over the paper, but at the very bottom is where we want to put whatever your name is for your loneliness. That's where we want to put it. We want to put it at the very bottom of the sheet. All right, so I know you're going to pause. You're going to go do that, and then we'll come back and we'll do another part of this exercise, okay? All right, so welcome back. Now, I want you to think about, we thought about loneliness. You now have your picture that you just created. And now we get to think about the opposite side of this feeling that we just described. We want to think about what it feels like to be really connected to someone, to feel like someone understands us. Whatever connection looks like to you, that's what we want to imagine in this moment. But before we even get started, I want you to get back in your spot like you did for the last part of the exercise. And I want you to breathe. But this first time as you breathe in, I want you to take in a deep breath. And then I want you to breathe out. And you can do it again. But what we're doing here is I want you to breathe out whatever experience you just had when it came to loneliness. I want you to start fresh as we start to talk about connection, okay? So take in your deep breath, breathe that out, and now we're starting fresh. So when you've done that, go ahead and keep your eyes closed and continue to breathe normally. And then I will ask you these questions. And remember, same thing applies as last time. Take what comes up. That's exactly what you need to see in this moment. And I want you to, there is no right, there is no wrong, no good, no bad. It's exactly what you need to see to understand how you feel and what comes up for you when you feel connection. So as we get ready, I'm going to ask you these questions. So when you experience connection, what is it that you see? Again, just like last time, it could be certain people, it could be an environment, it could be nothing at all. I don't know what it is you see, but whatever's coming up for you is exactly what you are meant to see in this moment. Now, when you are feeling fully connected to yourself or to someone else, what is it that you hear? Now, this could be other people. It could be conversation. It could be nothing at all. It could be sounds of an environment that you hear. But what is it that you hear? Now, we know what you hear. We know what you see. Now, I want you, we're coming back to this table. There's a different box on the table right now. You go to pick it up. You shake it around. And then you pull out a new crayon. This is different from the last crayon. And this one is called Connection. What color is your crayon? We know your color. We know what you hear. We know what you see. Now, you see this object. It appears and it is representing connection. It's an inanimate, non-living object. But whatever you see, when you think of your experience of connection, this is what comes to mind. What is it that you see as your object? Now, I want you to think about when you are feeling this sense of connection, what are the things that you're saying to yourself? What are the things you're saying and what tone of voice are you using? Again, is it a soft tone? Are you being loud and expressing yourself? What tone of voice are you using and what are you saying to yourself? Now that we have all this information about your experience, I want you to think about the most important part. What is the name of this experience that you want to give your connection? Now, this could be something like the donkey pinata. This could be like the evening sunset. I don't know what it is for you, but whatever's coming up for you is exactly what's supposed to come up for you. All right. And I just want you to take in one last deep breath as you get ready to end this exercise and breathe in that connection that you've just thought about as we've done this together. Awesome. Now, we're going to do the same thing that we did for the loneliness. And you're going to get your paper, you're going to get pens, crayons, whatever form you want to express yourself with, and you're going to create the image that comes to mind as you answered those questions for connection. So you're going to want to pause again and go do that. And remember, just on the bottom of the paper somewhere is where you want to place the name that you came up with, where it's visible for you. Okay? All right. And we're back. And there's one final thing I just want to talk about, why we are running through this exercise. Now, I imagine that you have your two images that you created, and maybe they're side by side now. Now that you see them on paper, what you did was you took something that you weren't able to communicate, and you took it out of your head and you put it on those sheets of paper. And what's amazing about that is now, whenever you are feeling either one of those emotions, it will be easy to recognize that that is happening. So if you are in a time where you're feeling lonely, you can recognize that that's happening, and you can ask yourself, what can I do to get back over to this connection? And maybe it means that you wear a favorite piece of clothing. Maybe it means that you listen to one of your favorite songs. Maybe it means that you remember what you said to yourself in the experience, and you start to repeat some of those things back to yourself so that you can process your emotion and get back to feeling more connected with yourself. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and running through this exercise. I would love to see whatever images you created as you went through this process. And I'll put a hashtag down below so that if you decide to do the exercise, you can put your images on the hashtag so anybody else who does it can also see the images that you all created, because you are not alone in feeling any of these things, and it is okay. Part of feeling is part of being human. It isn't bad. You are just being human, and you are not alone in feeling anything that you are feeling.